Thank everybody for coming out. This is always one of my favorite days, pitch day. And today we're going to be hearing from Dr. Ed Park at NeuroReserve. And before we get officially started, just a couple of things for anybody who's new to the program and what we do. StartUpNV is Nevada's statewide nonprofit accelerator and incubator. We operate 3 programs for entrepreneurs or founders and 3 for-profit investment funds. Our nonprofit operation is supported by sponsors in the near term and by participating accelerator companies who pledge a small amount of equity to our nonprofit, which we hope will be worth a lot someday soon. And then our foundation will continue to go on without having to beg for grants and ask for corporate sponsors. So we run our pitch days every other Wednesday, where companies pitch for the Q&A and entry into our accelerator program. And that accelerator program comes with a minimum $50,000 investment from our fund, added to by individual investors from our network, plus a matching amount from our SSBCI program with the state of Nevada. So we've made 16 investments in 2021 and 2022 so far, ranging from $50,000 on the low end to $1.3 million on the high end. Our average investment is about $126,000. Now for the legal disclaimer, the founder who is pitching today for investment from our SEC approved venture capital fund and our investor network made up of about 400 accredited investors. The members of the community are encouraged to attend our pitch days for educational purposes, kind of like watching Shark Tank. This educational component is critical to our mission of creating and educating and growing Nevada's startup ecosystem. So the pitches today are to our investors. They are not a general solicitation for investment in any specific company, nor is this a solicitation for our investment funds. For information on our programs for entrepreneurs and for accredited investors, please check us out online at startupnv.org. End of disclaimer. Our nonprofit work with entrepreneurs and those who are interested in startups and investing would not be possible without the financial help of our sponsors and supporters. The biggest of those are the City of Las Vegas, the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development, or GOED, as we like to call them, Glassboard Technologies, Eide Bailey, and KPMG. So if you are someone or know someone who might like to help with financial support or in-kind services, please introduce me or my colleague, Andrew Baca, and we'll tell them all about how they can support us. Dr. Park, you're going to be our only presenter today. Dr. Edward Park is the CEO and founder of NeuroReserve, and he's going to talk to us about NeuroReserve and his Preventive Health and Nutrition Company.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining. I figured I'd be here at the Innovation Center to do the presentation, partially just because we can now. But might have created a little bit of some tech difficulties, but I'm glad to be here and to be in this location. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about NeuroReserve. It's the company I founded, and as the description mentions here, we're focused in brain health, and in particular, brain health as people age. And what we want to do, our aim is to take brain nutrition from a consumer kind of experimentation standpoint to more like consumer health, right? We want to elevate it to that level and do something very special in that respect for the brain category. And this is a very personal endeavor for myself, and it's the primary reason why I'm doing this is because of my own family history and my father's struggle with dementia and Parkinson's disease that lasted almost 2 decades. So this is very much a labor of love for me, and I hope that you'll come to understand its value as we go forward. So first is the problem, and it's a twofold problem. I mean, the first is, of course, aging, right? We have an aging population, but the compounding factor to that is that neurodegenerative diseases are growing faster than all other disease states in the country. So when we look at the cause of death for people over the past 20 years, it's been basically flat for certain major cancers and it's been going down actually for cardiovascular and for HIV, but for Alzheimer's disease, it's gone up almost 150%. So you have this combination of aging compounded with the fact that neurodegenerative diseases are becoming the dominant type of cause of death out there. And that brings us to a situation where we have this acceleration of cases and prevalence that are growing over time. And as you can see here from this kind of funnel, where we'll be at a situation where we have 3x more burden than we have now today. And we're talking almost like $2 trillion, worth of burden on our society. And that could really start to collapse some societal and Medicare, Medicaid, other institutions. Now, the problem at the level where NeuroReserve works is that nutritionally, there aren't many that specifically address brain aging and longevity out there in the nutritional product space. So when it comes to what we developed as our first product and what we launched last year, we launched a product called Relevate. And Relevate is based upon dietary patterns. So it's built upon whole diets, looking at the mixture of nutrients and the nutritional profile that leads to better brain outcomes. And of course, it's focused on this longer term aspect, looking not just at a short term kind of a boost, but instead looking at the 6 month, 1 year, many year time frame to help people take care of their brains in the long run. So a couple things to note about Relevate is the evidence basis that we built it upon was a lot of the work was done at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, where they developed a diet called the MIND diet. It's actually a modified Mediterranean diet, and some just amazing results came out of that, in the sense that you could reduce your risk of neurodegenerative disease and also test about almost a decade better than your peers, as far as youth or younger brain, if you will, when you follow or adhere to certain types of dietary patterns, one being the MIND diet and the other being the Mediterranean diet, which more people are familiar with. So we decided we're going to take that and package that nutritional profile into Relevate. Now, when it comes to the market impact of the problem, one way to look at it is just looking at the nutritional supplement market in the United States, which is about $56 billion. The pandemic had a major impact on that, in the sense that when it used to be a 5 to 6% annual growth kind of industry, it grew about 15% in 2020. It was just massive. And of course, a lot of that was driven by immunity, but there are knockoff effects because of the fact that people care more about their health and they want to take care of their long-term health more and be more capable of living, more functionally, throughout the remainder of their life, despite any infectious diseases and things like that. So that had a big impact. The brain supplement category has always been one of the fastest growing categories in the nutritional supplement space in the United States. That, along with, say, probiotics and, of course, immunity that came about in 2020. And the brain side of things obviously is driven by that greater awareness and that compounding effect of aging on top of that greater cause of death that's taking place. So if we look at this from a TAM and SAM and SOM standpoint, the way I broke it down is that the global brain nutritional supplement market would be this bigger one, right? And that's $7 billion, where NeuroReserve intends to plant our flag from a product line standpoint is going to be in the brain supplement category. So I didn't want to make it the whole nutritional supplement category, but the global brain supplement category is one to look at as a TAM, because at some point we do want to go global. The SAM is the U.S. market, and that's what we can reasonably go after. And then from the service obtainable market standpoint, what we did is we took the SAM and we cut it down in two different ways. One is from a demographic standpoint. About 25% of Americans have a direct family member that's been affected by neurodegenerative disease, and that would be a very highly aware and a type of audience that could see the value of our product line. And taking another cut at it, about 30% of nutritional supplement sales are done online, and that's our primary mode of acquiring customers and selling. So when we look at that, that's kind of like where we land with our SOM, at about $170 million. The online portion of nutritional supplement sales has obviously been growing very quickly at about a rate of 25% a year, given that switch over that's been taking place from physical to delivered online. So I did want to mention, where do we land and how do we compare, or where are we positioned in the competitive landscape? And there's one area that's very big, actually. It's what we call nootropics, and that's in the lower left-hand quadrant, targeting mostly kind of midlife to youth. And what they're looking for, given that kind of lower side of the diagram, is they're looking for that boost, that kind of peak performance. They're in sales. They want to do good on a test, things like that. Big area there. There's also, if you go a little bit further along to the midlife boomer senior, Prevagen, we would consider a major competitor. They work, and they're mostly focused on memory. And then NeuroReserve, where we want to be, is more in the cognitive aging, risk reduction standpoint. That's how we market. We don't market as a nootropic. We avoid that term actively because we don't want to get mixed up in that realm. It's a big realm there. So this is kind of a little bit about where we land in the competitive landscape. And just a couple more slides here, and this is on our business model. We're primarily DTC, as I mentioned earlier, right now, through our website and also on Amazon. We're in a few independent pharmacies, about 7 of them, where we've done some test purchases and pilot orders. About 70% of our revenue is subscription. Now, whether or not it be Amazon Subscribe and Save or our DTC subscribers. And as you can see, we're at about $20K monthly net revenue. And when I say net revenue, I mean the revenue that comes after refunds, after discounts, after returns, after sales tax, and at about 400 subscribers. Our DTC subscriber average orders in their lifetime that we're measuring right now as we continue to monitor the cohorts that come in each month is about 6 to 7 orders. And our economics land about at 5 to 1 for the LTV over CAC. So it's a little bit about where we're at as far as our traction. And here's just a little bit more about myself. My background is in nutritional therapeutics, biopharmaceuticals. For about 16 years, I was in R&D there. And of course, later on, as I started tackling some issues with my own health, and I wasn't the best at diet and nutrition, as I started to see the impact and power of that, I decided, I can really do something great, or try and do something great, right, in the nutritional realm, which is typically aimed at prevention as opposed to treatment, which of course the pharmaceutical realm is focused on. The key thing is that neurodegenerative diseases have long time scales. They take about 20 years to develop before symptoms show. So the prevention side is very important. And we also have a wonderful team that we put together from various institutions where we want to take that pharma rigor, but bring it into nutrition. Some from Cleveland Clinic, Rush University Medical Center, and Tufts. So I hear a chime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it up here a little bit here. So a couple things to finish up. There are many things that we've made throughout this since we launched in early 2021. As we've gone through and built up our operations, got our manufacturing, are showing some favorable economics and traction. And so given that, what we're doing is, as this final slide, as I'll stop here, is we're in what we're calling a Series C1 round, actually. We're raising $600,000, and it's a price round, and the valuation is at $4.5 million. The lead investor, as you can see, is Reno Seed Fund, so another local fund, Nevada-based, or primarily Nevada-based fund in northern Nevada. And obviously the use of funds is going to be primarily for growth. So we want to drive that, and obviously for production, inventory, and R&D as well, as we want to launch our second product at the beginning of next year. So with that, I will I will
Thank you.
conclude the formal presentation. So,
Thank you.
and take questions.
Thanks to everybody who's participated with us live on Zoom, and for those of you on the YouTube, the live stream on YouTube, and to those of you who will be watching this later on the recording. Whether you're members of our investor group, a founder who's kind of checking us out for the first time, or just a startup geek like me who loves tracking the activity and growth in our Nevada startup community. Thanks for tuning in. So if you're a founder and you're listening and you're looking for capital, or you want to jump into the accelerator program, just apply on StartUpNV. Super easy to get engaged with us. You make an application, you turn in your deck, get some feedback and approved, and then you schedule a date. So can happen as quickly as a week, but sometimes it takes a little longer to get the deck approved. If you're an investor or curious about how to become an investor, we have 4 opportunities for you. Our pre-seed fund, Fund NV, that makes the investments in these companies like Dr. Park's company here and others, the 16 others that we've invested in. We have an annual conference fund called Angel NV that requires a $5,000 investment. And you get to learn how to do angel investing. And our seed fund, which we're putting together right now, which will make follow-on investments and larger investments in companies in Nevada and in areas adjacent to us. And we also run an investor syndicate, currently numbering about 450. So if you are an investor and you just want to look at interesting deals as they come through, just sign up on the website and we'll put you in the network. So best place to get a hold of us is at startupnv.org. You'll find general information, legal information if you want to become an investor, and a place to register you're interested. And then, for all you community members, sign up for our newsletters. Our very first newsletter is going to be coming out soon. We do emails on all kinds of topics. We're trying to consolidate that down into the newsletters now. So just go to the Keep Me Up to Date and sign up. We're going to see you right back here in 2 weeks. We're going to hear from 2 exciting startups. So until then, take care of yourself. And if you can, take care of someone else too.